Christopher's Haven. 1. They took me to an apartment for people like me. Dad promised I'd make lots of new friends. They directed Dad and me to the 3rd floor, 5th room on the left. You can't miss it. I passed doors with bright little name cards plastered on the front. Angela, Marcus, Lynn, Brendan, Haley. My placard was bright yellow. Dad pointed at it and reminded me how that was my favorite color when I was little. I nodded. Sure. The tour lady opened the door wide, chattering brightly as if this was really an open house. As if we were just house shopping and there was nothing even remotely off about this situation. Inside, she showed us a little hall with a huge vanity mirror, ending in a small bathroom at the end. The next section was a little apartment-sized kitchen full of all the utensils and applications you might ever need or want. She and Dad got to talking about the microwave and the oven strength and the placement of the silverware. I drew away, focusing on the wall-to-wall window at the far end of the room. I squinted at the bright light filtering through the sheer curtains. Squinted with my good left eye. They gave me a patch for the right one after the surgery. One of those black piratey ones with a flimsy head strap. The head strap that never stuck on. Through the big window, I could see the river, the little bridge that crosses it. I could see the river walk with the small stones and the big tree growing out of the ground. I could see the food truck serving Indian cuisine parked on the big road outside the building. There was a big bed to my left and a couch to my right. The tour lady and Dad waved at me from the opening in the wall dividing the kitchen hallway from the big bed and the rest of the room where I was standing. I waved back. Why not? Past the big bed was another wall divider, a shorter one. It didn't go quite to the ceiling nor to the opposite wall. Instead, it went about 1/3 of the way up and 1/2 of the way across, and the rest of the divider was another curtain. Light pink. Sheer. Pastel. On the other side was a smaller bed, twin size, covered with a bedspread the same light pink pastel that looked like flesh. It faced a small chest of drawers with only 2 drawers. Maybe it was more of a nightstand. Maybe it was more of a decoration. I told Dad I wanted to sleep in the pretty pink bed that looked like flesh. Of course, he said. You can do whatever you want. The tour lady left after telling Dad about some of the neighborhood perks. I listened, barely. The eye patch was getting itchy again. It always got itchy around mid-afternoon. I had to hold it in a way that no light seeped through the cracks, or then my right eye would see things and I'd get a horrible headache. That's how double vision worked. Tour lady bent her knees to look at me at eye level. There were lots of people in the other rooms wanting to make friends, she said. I could go if I wanted. There was a loft at the end of the corridor for a playroom for everyone. I said okay. She closed the door behind her after a perky wave goodbye. Dad and I were alone. 2. Every day melted into the next, like the drippy ice cream cone Mom used to get for me as a treat when I was little. I never met the other people like me in the apartment full of people like me, of patients like me. I never wanted to go to the loft, to the playroom full of kids smaller than me, who had the same problems as me. Tour lady's chirpy tone never really caught on. She showed us the rooms with such bubbly enthusiasm as if we were shopping, and she was showing us a new section of interior design in the IKEA marketplace. as if this wasn't really a prison with fancy walls that they planned on keeping me in for the next 3 months. So all that time, it was just Dad and me. I sat on the little couch and played the same old Chinese movie on the outdated Kindle over and over again. Something about the two snake goddesses, one of whom fell in love with a human and ruined centuries of tradition. From my spot on the couch, I could see Dad moving in the kitchen through the opening in the wall divider. I watched Dad make the same breakfast every morning, toasted half bagel. Every morning I'd eat it, little glutinous balls of bread forming in my mouth and clogging my throat. He'd watch me swallow and asked if I wanted more. Hopefully, wishfully. I never wanted more. Every time the clock struck noon, Dad would go out to the same Indian food truck and get his meal. The little food truck reported for duty every day, parking in the same spot on the big road out front. Maybe people like me had a penchant for Indian food. After he got his lunch, Dad would come back to the apartment and go into the kitchen, pulling out an Orgain protein shake from the refrigerator. He'd ask me to come and drink it. I hated this time of day. I hated the feel of artificial chocolate coating my throat. I hated the nasty viscosity that made the drink so hard to swallow. 1 per day, Dad said. When the radiation got really heavy, I couldn't keep anything down, not even water. That's when Dad upped the daily protein shake to 2 a day. We skipped the bagel breakfast because we both knew that would just come again up later. 200 calories a day. It was the best I could do. 1 shake in the morning and 1 at dinner time, with little sips of water throughout the day. Little sips. There was treatment every day, same time, 11 a.m. sharp. Dad and I would go down to the shiny new elevator, past the motion sensor controlled hotel entrance. 1 block away, and the hospital awaited us. A great big gray whale sitting contentedly in the middle of nowhere, gray and hard and metallic. We'd go to the 2nd floor, the radiation floor. The doctors would make us wait in a gray waiting room with colorful polka dot chairs until the doctors were ready for me. Then some lady in some light blue scrubs would poke her head out the door and scan the room with a questioning stare. Is Haley here? Dad wasn't allowed back with me, so the little lady in light blue scrubs would always take me to the same back room, down the same hallway, past the same scratches in the wall. I'd enter a huge room, 6 times as tall as the tallest room I'd been in before, and 5 times as wide. In the very center was a clunky gray machine, smooth and shiny and gray and terrifying. 2 men waited beside the machine. I suppose they were the operators. They were big men, 6 feet tall each, but they looked tiny next to the machine. They wore white suits that covered their whole body, with a small clear space for their eyes to see. The lady in blue clothing would always leave really quickly after depositing me in their care. I would stand there, clothed normally. The men in full white would tell me to come over and lay down in the middle of the machine. At first, I never wanted to. I'd shrink against the back wall, shaking my head no. Sometimes shaking my head gave me too much of a headache, so I wouldn't say anything and just leaned against the wall. They waited for me to break. It probably happened frequently enough to them that they knew how to respond. They'd break eventually. I'd lie down in the middle of the gray machine's gigantic gaping maw, ready for it to completely consume my tiny 13-year-old frame. The operators told me to look up, close my eyes, and let the machine do its thing. I did. One of them flipped a switch, and the gears started moving instantly. The noises were awful, enormous creaking sounds that make it sound like the entire contraption will just fall apart and engulf me. Sometimes I wanted to just get up and run, leaving the loud, noisy thing behind me. But of course, someone thought of that a lot earlier than I did, because I was strapped down to the table every single session. 20 to 30 minutes later, the machine would stop its horrifying clanking. The operators would help me get back up slowly, and the little lady in blue clothes would come back and guide me on the way back to the waiting room. Down the same hallway, past the same scratches in the wall. The nausea never really hit until I got back to the apartment, the suite with no doors or full dividers, where everything was connected and privacy never even dared to exist. So my stomach would cramp, and my head would start spinning. And Dad would ask me, what was wrong? Why did my face turn a different color? Why did I keep blinking my one good eye? I never had an answer for him. I would just sit down on the couch, pull out the old Kindle, and play that same old Chinese movie one more time. The one about the lady snakes, the green and white, where the green was a good girl, the obedient one, the one who followed all the rules and never got in trouble. White Snake was the one who denied her family and her culture, the one who ran away